So you should have watched the first video where I showed you how to put the equation for our first problem, station A, into Desmos. That's y equals x squared minus 4x plus 7. And that should have given you not only a picture of the graph, but also points. I'm going to use those points to fill in my table. It doesn't matter which numbers I use, but I'm going to try and pick ones that will help me graph it. So more positive numbers, 3 and 4, and 4 and 7. And again, I got these numbers off the table in Desmos. Once I've got a bunch of points, the other thing that I want to record right away was the vertex. And if you'll recall, the vertex is where the parabola changes direction. It's either the maximum or the minimum. In this case, the vertex was the minimum, and it was at 2, 3. Again, we got that from Desmos, right? So I'm going to go ahead and graph the vertex first, because it's probably our most important value. Go over 2, 1, 2, and then up 3. 1, 2, 3. That's where it's going to be changing direction. Okay? Another important value would be our y-intercept. In this case, where it's crossing the y-axis. We can tell it's the y-intercept because y has a number and x doesn't. Again, you can just click on the value in Desmos that is on the line for the y-axis. Okay? Or where our y-axis and our graph intersect. So I go over 0 and up 7, and it is going to have a point right there. It's probably a good idea, too, for me to graph a couple of other points just to help me round out my curve. So I'll pick 3, 4, and 4, 7. Over 3, up 4, over 4, up 7. Now that I have a really good idea of the shape of my parabola, I can draw this and round it out. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just make sure it's going through all the points, and also make sure that you have arrows on the end, because of course these go on forever. Alright, so then we have to look at the axis of symmetry and the domain and range. The axis of symmetry goes through the vertex, and it's where the parabola will be cut in half. Another thing to remember is the axis of symmetry is a line. Okay? It's the line where I could fold it in half. If I look at where I could fold this in half and draw a line through it, I'm going to draw a dotted line through the very center of this. You'll notice that if I fold this half onto this half, they would be equal to each other. That's my axis of symmetry. Okay? Now this line goes through the x-axis at the number 2. It's a little hard to see, but you can see that it goes through the x-axis at the number 2. That's also the x value of my vertex. So my axis of symmetry is a line that's x, because it goes through the x-axis and it's a straight line, equals 2. Right? This is the only one of the types of questions that we ask you about graph analysis where it's actually another equation. Then let's take a look at domain and range. Domain is going to be how far it goes to the left and how far it goes to the right. Okay, if I look to the left and I go as far out to the left as I can, you'll notice that I hit an arrow. Whenever I hit an arrow, that means infinity, right? And I'm on the left-hand side of my graph. I'm going to the left. I see an arrow. Arrow means negative infinity. Okay? So my domain is going to be negative infinity. When I go to the right, the farthest right I can go, I have to stop right here because I hit the end, and the end is an arrow, so it's on the positive side, positive infinity. So my domain is going to be from negative infinity to positive infinity. And that is going to be the same for all of these types of graphs. Okay? All parabolas are going to have a domain of negative infinity to positive infinity. The range is going to be different for each graph. Again, the range measures the lowest to the highest. So what's the lowest it ever gets? And then what's the highest it ever gets? So if I start at my graph and at the bottom and I go to the very, very lowest it ever gets, actually kind of a high up graph, but you'll notice the lowest it ever gets on y, because range is for y, is it never goes below the number 3. Okay? So the lowest it ever gets is 3, and the highest it gets, if I go up to the very top on y, is an infinity sign, because we hit arrows on the top, so infinity. So we have 3, which is its lowest, to infinity, which is highest. And I accidentally put kind of a rounded one here, but since it's a number, I make this a closed parenthesis, bracket, and I make this a positive infinity. Okay? So this is an example of how to do problem number 1.